final speaker in the session is Anthony Khawaja.
Hi everyone, it's a pleasure to speak to you today about two exciting linkages of national eye healthcare data to the UK Biobank resource. My financial disclosures aren't really relevant to this. Just to say that the UK Biobank resource has been a real game changer for eye and vision research. It's enabled highly collaborative research looking at common causes of blindness. Now, one of the commonest causes of blindness, the commonest cause of irreversible blindness globally is glaucoma. I'll be using this as an exemplar. Patients with the early stages of glaucoma are asymptomatic, as these blurry patches go unnoticed. But by the time they become symptomatic, it's too late, as this blurriness cannot be repaired. Vision loss is a huge burden to the individual, but also to society, costing the UK £28 billion annually. And while we've known that glaucoma is one of the most heritable common human diseases, our genetic discovery was really limited pre-UK Biobank, even when bringing together all available population cohorts in the world. So UK Biobank really was a game changer with a massive sample size, the uniform way we measured intraocular pressure, and this gave us a massive step change in our genetic discovery. So not only did this taught us about biological insights. It brought up this lymphangiogenesis pathway that was novel at the time, and that pointed towards the Schlemm's canal part of the aqueous outflow system being particularly important in glaucoma, challenging that dogma that glaucoma was a disease of the trabecular meshwork. But not just biological insights, we then, as you've heard a lot earlier today, taken those genetic markers and made polygenic prediction models to see, can we, in independent studies, predict who's going to get glaucoma and who isn't. And at the time, we were very surprised by the relative accuracy of our results. So this is now opening the door towards targeted population screening, so using just genomics to identify who's at high risk of glaucoma and screening them, because population screening isn't effective. But will those polygenic risk scores, those models, will they help me in my glaucoma clinic? Can I identify who's at high risk of blindness so I can focus our resources on them? Tell me who's going to respond well to all the different treatments we have? Well, actually, we can't answer that question at the moment because our data sets, our GWAS, have been cross-sectional. We need longitudinal clinical outcome data together with the genetic data, something else we heard earlier this morning. So what would that longitudinal data look like for glaucoma? Well, we aim to measure the amount of the visual field that's affected using a visual field machine that you can see here. We all use a similar machine. This is what the output looks like. This is from an eye with worsening glaucoma. And you can summarize each of those visual fields into one number to say how bad the field of vision is, and you can plot it. This is data from UK glaucoma clinics. Each dot is an individual patient, and how the dot's moving is reflecting how the vision is worsening in the left and right eyes. If you were a patient, this is where you wouldn't want to end up, because this means you've become blind in both eyes despite best care. Now, I can't currently predict who these patients are going to be in my clinic. I hope that our polygenic prediction models, or new ones, will be able to help us predict this, but currently we don't have the data sets for it. Now, we can help slow or stop the progression of glaucoma. Traditionally, this is done with eye drop medications to lower eye pressure, but more recently, we've discovered that applying laser treatment directly to the trabecular meshwork is also a good first-line treatment. Now, if all our patients were the same, they'd have this excellent average response of IOP, eye pressure lowering following the laser. But our patients aren't all the same. They're all different. And this is the individual treatment responses. You can see the huge variability here. Now, we have good rationale that genetics can predict this treatment response, and particularly that lymphangiogenesis pathway I alluded to earlier, pointing towards pathology in parts of the eye that this laser isn't targeting. So are these clinical outcome data available on scale? Well, the short answer is yes. We're very lucky in ophthalmology. There was an early entry electronic medical record called Medisoft that's been dominant in the specialty, used around the country, that collects really beautiful structured data on things like eye pressure, so we can look at response to treatment. But it also interfaces with our key equipment. So it interfaces with that visual field machine, pulls in all of the data, including those quantitative metrics that we'd want to assess. Another important aspect of this EMR, unlike other ones, is that you can't customize it per site. Everybody has exactly the same version, so everyone around the country is collecting the data in exactly the same way, which might be frustrating for them, but it's a dream for researchers. This has enabled a lot of impactful research. It's enabled the National Cataract Surgery Outcome Audit, with over 80 Medisoft centres contributing, and also to world-leading real-world outcomes of treatments for retinal diseases like age-related macular degeneration. It was Medisoft data that underpinned these data visualizations, which really describe how glaucoma patients progress, their prognosis, their response to treatment. What's its coverage in the UK? Well, it's used at 70% of hospital trusts currently. What about in relation to the UK Biobank recruitment centres? Well, this is them all ordered according to the number of participants who self-reported glaucoma. And highlighted here are the places where the local eye unit, major eye unit, is using Medisoft. You can see it's the majority of them, in fact 14 of the top 16. So we estimate that we're going to get that longitudinal clinical outcome data linked to all the rich exposure data in UK Biobank for around 15,000 glaucoma patients, which will be a real game changer. What do the data extracts look like? Well, Medisoft are very used to supporting large multi-centre research projects. This, I would imagine, would be a bulk data download. It comes in multiple tables, which are linked by participant ID, encounter ID, and the data, as I've said, are beautifully structured, harmonised, and actually very clean. I've been talking about glaucoma, but there are equally good data for all the other common causes of blindness. And the data are, again, nice, longitudinal, and link in with our equipment. So this is here linked in with OCT scans, including those quantitative metrics pulled from the OCT scans that we'd want to use. The other linkage I want to talk about is to the National Eye Diabetic Screening Programme. Diabetic retinopathy remains one of the most important causes of blindness in working-age people, but it's preventable. If you pick it up early and you treat it, you can prevent blindness. So we're lucky in the UK to have a national screening programme since 2003. All diabetic patients are invited annually to have retinal photographs, which are then graded in a harmonised fashion, and this is all recorded longitudinally, and the screening outcome, did they need referral to the hospital, did they have laser treatment, and so on. Fortunately, there are just two major software providers to enable these screening programs nationally, and we're partnering with both of them for this national linkage. Now, not only are we then going to be able to look at the biological basis and predictors of why some diabetic patients get retinopathy and others don't, this is actually also going to be a way of us identifying who has got diabetes. We've done this linkage in Epic Norfolk, and it enabled us to identify a lot of new participants we previously didn't know were diabetic using other methods. There are also other interesting data, I think, for diabetes researchers that are collected at the screening program, even something as simple as diabetes type. It's not always obvious who's got type 1 or type 2 diabetes, and the date of diabetes diagnosis. As I alluded to earlier, we've already completed the linkage to the Medisoft electronic medical record and the diabetic eye screening program for the Epic Norfolk cohort. And now our challenge is to scale this up across the country for UK Biobank. So I think these eye linkages are going to offer researchers in academia and industry all over the world really exciting opportunity to do translational research, because these are longitudinal, clinically relevant outcomes. So I hope in my glaucoma clinic in years to come, thanks to UK Biobank, I will be able to predict who's at highest risk of blindness so that I can focus my resources on them and prevent it, and work out which treatment will work best for each individual patient. I'd like to thank the UK Biobank Eye and Vision Consortium, the UK Biobank team, and our collaborators at Medisoft, Optimize and Health Intelligence, who are going to make this linkage possible, the funders of the linkage, including UKRI, Wellcome Trust and others, and of course thank the UK Biobank participants. Thank you for your attention.